Yet another escape for Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, Al-Qaeda's operational commander, and the uncle of Ramzi Youssef, who masterminded the first attack on the Trade Center in '93. Mohammed, who speaks 4 languages, traveled the world on Al-Qaeda business using more than 36 aliases. He studied mechanical engineering in the United States in the mid-1980s. A man with good connections, even to certain governments, according to investigators. For nearly a decade, Mohammed worked invisibly behind the scenes. But last year, he came forward to give an interview with Ramzi bin Al-Shib to Yosri Fouda of Al Jazeera Network, telling him exactly how they planned 9/11.
I received a phone call from someone who said that he was a good doer. He asked me if I was thinking of preparing something special within my program, Serial Al-Ghaya, top secret, for the first anniversary of September 11th. And if so, he would be able to give me some exclusive stuff for the program.
Fouda accepted the offer and traveled to Karachi, awaiting further instructions. A few days later, he was taken to an undisclosed location.
In one of the rooms inside, there was another guy sitting on the floor, surrounded by laptops and mobile phones.
Fouda would stay in the apartment for 48 hours and learn about the thinking of the men behind the September 11th attacks. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed told Fouda that at one point, Al-Qaeda considered striking U.S. nuclear plants. Fouda is convinced that Al-Qaeda's leaders are planning to pull off another attack in the near future.
They have no regrets. They have no remorse. They would do it again, basically. The question is whether or not they are capable of doing it. To me, it sounds like it's just a matter of time.
And indeed, Al-Qaeda operatives have already carried out numerous attacks since 9/11. April 2002. The moment they killed 11 German tourists in an historic synagogue in Tunisia, captured on an amateur videotape. October 2002, a French oil tanker attacked off the coast of Yemen. November 2002, in Kenya, a bombing of an Israeli-owned hotel, a pattern of attacks that suggests Al-Qaeda's remarkable long-range planning. Al-Qaeda's agents have now spread out from Pakistan to points around the globe. September 11th, 2001. The very day of the deadly attacks in the United States, Al-Qaeda is already planning its next spectacular attack. One of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed's recruits arrives in Hong Kong. The man checking into a hotel that night is a 20-year-old Canadian of Kuwaiti descent. His name, Mansour Jabara. His mission, finalizing Al-Qaeda's next terror campaign, this time in Southeast Asia. Jabara's instructions were to unleash mayhem in the region, with a wave of bombings against Western targets. Next stop, the city-state of Singapore. Jabara would arrive there in December 2001 to organize the terrorist plot and scope out targets. Not an easy task in a place that prides itself on its multicultural harmony. Hindus, Buddhists, and Muslims live side by side. But even in this prosperous city-state, Al-Qaeda was able to build a local cell, a surprise to many. This is video Jabara shot as he scouted his targets. It was later found in the possession of one of the local cell members, and it clearly shows one of the targets, the U.S. Embassy. The terrorist carefully scoped out where the bombs would be placed. The plan would involve 7 truck bombs, using 10 times the amount of explosives used in the Oklahoma City bombing of 1995. The attack never happened because the Singaporean government was tipped off. Documents reveal other targets of the Singapore plot: pipelines, other embassies, and U.S. warships. Zachary Abuza has written a book about the terror network in Southeast Asia.
These are sketches that they took when targets they were reconnaissing. This is the most interesting of the documents. This shows what all of the subgroups were responsible for targeting and the times that they were operating when they were going out on reconnaissance missions, different instructions they were given to the locations, different places they were going to look for targets, and indeed the target list that they came up with.
What does it say about how Al-Qaeda is reorganizing itself?
I think since September 11th, and especially since the fall of Afghanistan, they're a more formidable adversary. They'll never have a single state like Afghanistan to operate out of. Therefore, they're relying much more on groups and alliances with individuals, that many of which go back to the 1980s in Afghanistan.
These alliances have helped Al-Qaeda build terror partnerships all over the world. Perhaps the best example is found in another part of Southeast Asia, Indonesia, where Al-Qaeda has linked up with a militant Islamist group, Jemaah Islamiyah, led by radical cleric Abu Bashir and a longtime bin Laden associate known as Hambali. A country of more than 200 million people with the world's largest Muslim population, Indonesia has long prided itself on being a moderate Muslim country, tolerating its religious minorities, Christians and Hindus. The nation prospered during the 80s and 90s, but when the economy collapsed in the late 90s, Islamic extremist organizations found new recruits. Tensions between Muslim and Christians have flared up into violence in recent years. And until recently, according to the former U.S. ambassador to Indonesia, the government has been reluctant to crack down on the militant groups behind the violence. These extremist organizations meant opportunity for Al-Qaeda. One of the loudest radical voices, Abu Bakr Bashir, the spiritual leader of Jemaah Islamiyah. His organization would become Al-Qaeda's partner in the region.
They spent 5 or 6 years putting together a regional network of supporters, of training camps, financial network. They recruited, they set up madrasas in all the countries as bases for their recruiting.
This is a Jemaah Islamiyah recruitment tape showing one of its military training camps. In the late 1990s, Jemaah Islamiyah's terror apparatus spread rapidly throughout Southeast Asia to Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and the Philippines. On October 10, 2002, at a packed nightclub on the Indonesian vacation island of Bali, 2 bombs went off, creating a massive fireball, killing more than 180 people. Within weeks after the Bali blast, investigators solved the case and arrested most of the bomb plotters. As Bali mourned the victims of the attack, there was evidence that Al-Qaeda's operatives were spreading across the region. The question is, where were they going?